Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of
Live, Let, Thrive. Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let.
Thrive. What is up, Micah? Man.
I'm chilling, Stevie Stacks. How you doing?
Wonderful, wonderful. Feeling good today on this Friday. It's podcast day, man. I'm happy. How you doing?
Friday at 5. Good to be off work, ready for the weekend. Let's do it.
Yeah, you all recovered from yesterday, the big meetup.
Yeah. Recovering. And we got a special guest from that meetup, man.
What? Who do we got?
Let's see.
You want me to intro him?
Who got Stevie Stacks?
Well, this is episode 245 of your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, short-term, mid-term rental podcast in the world. And we do have a special guest. And that special guest is Jonathan Wicks. He's the founder of Well and Good Property Services. And he did that in 2020, by the way. Since then, they've become the leader in full-scale servicing by bundling the cleaning, off-site laundry, and supplying of guest essentials. Having completed over 35,000 turnovers in 5 markets, Well and Good is looking to bring consistency and confidence. No, I think you meant consistency. Consistency and confidence to hosts and guests in their industry. Welcome to the show, Jonathan Wicks.
Well, thanks, fellas. Good to see you again. We had ourselves a night last night, and it's good to be on the podcast today.
All right. You're going to bring it today, huh, John?
I suppose so. Maybe you guys are the ones that bring it. I just supporting cast over here.
We bring the whiskey and vodka, and you do the rest.
Something like that.
Yeah, man. You've been on the road, haven't you? Because you just got back from Nashville. Now you're in Dallas.
Yeah, I've been doing this road show thing once a month where we kind of are both talking with some of our newer markets. And, with everything in launching markets, there's always a lot of conversations prior to that. So we're talking with folks in different areas about potentially launching, as well as some of the conferences that are going on in this industry. There's a lot of that happens too. So a lot of on the road. I haven't been home in 3 weeks. I'm missing my bed.
So turnover king, turnover specialist. What are the top problems or complaints from hosts about the turnover situation, and how do y'all fix that?
I think if you were saying top one, it's that they can't find good cleaners. So everybody says it's hard to find good cleaners, and I think with that, I don't disagree that in the traditional sense of short-term rentals, it is hard to find good cleaners, because a lot of times the best cleaners, a lot of times I've avoided this industry because they don't like to deal with all the other stuff that's outside of cleaning. So they don't want to do the laundry. They don't want to have to deal with letting the host know that they're missing something and then have it Amazon to their house or something like that. So that is what we've tried to solve, in the sense of having the cleaners be able to be strictly focused on the cleaning. We will set them up with all the other items. So I think the biggest thing I hear is that it's really hard to find good cleaners. And we have certainly worked to bring in the best cleaners back to our industry by allowing them to be set up for success and actually focus on the things that they're great at.
That brings me, I'm happy you said that. So when you guys come into a market, because you guys take care of everything. Well, actually, that Steve kind of went over what you guys do. So when you guys come into a market, do you bring your own cleaners? Do you hire new cleaners, or you train existing ones? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a combination. We've had instances where we've had some hosts who are doing a full transfer of both properties as well as the folks they have in their organization. So there's some hosts that say, hey, listen, I've got some great cleaners. They just need some structure, some systems, processes, things like that. And so that does happen occasionally, where we're doing referral based to get the cleaning. But either way, we are also going to be working in every market to recruit our own teams, and so teams that are coming strictly through our sources. So we have a market leader who's on site in every market, and they're working with some of that recruiting process and the training process and things like that. So I would say it's a combination of both referrals from our existing hosts, as well as our local on-site team that is doing the on-site training and recruiting even of teammates there.
Okay.
So, okay, some cool, you talked about last night at the meetup, the Dallas meetup, and some of y'all were there, but was having a market leader in the city. And why do you have that, and why is that important?
Yeah, it's huge. I think a lot of people in this in servicing don't understand that it's a service. Servicing is servicing, which means you have to actually have humans to do it. You cannot tech your way through servicing. The technology is important, and we use it and we emphasize it where it needs to be. But there is a lot that has to have a leadership, and it has to have guidance from on-site people. So we are big. We don't launch into a market unless we have on-site operations, and that on-site operation starts with a market leader. That market leader is the person who's responsible for the calendar. Ultimately, the buck stops with them, because ultimately, you guys know, when you get checkouts, it's checkouts, check-ins. There is a short period of time, and a lot has to happen. And so the market leader is so huge to know that they've got the right teams in place to be able to even jump in when needed too. And that is something that we know. We can't do a market without the right market leader on site. And yeah, we've got that in Dallas. It was cool to get a chance to meet some of the local hosts last night and kind of get introduce them to our local market leader, because it's not just me. If it was just the Jonathan show, we'd have troubles, honestly, where there has to be leadership.
You know what that reminds me of real quick? It's kind of off topic, but do you know anything about how Chick-fil-A puts a new Chick-fil-A in a certain market? You know anything about that?
I want to hear it.
Okay, so it's different than a lot of other fast food establishments. Let's say, for example, McDonald's. I got $1 million. I can start me a McDonald's. I got to lease the land from them and buy all the food from them, but I can start me a McDonald's and keep 90% of the profit, something like that. I could be way off. Anyways, Chick-fil-A does a little different. They have a rock star manager at one of their restaurants, kicking ass. Maybe starts, can manage several restaurants. I don't know, like someone that's totally kicking ass. They get the golden phone call, and they call, hey, do you want your own Chick-fil-A? And most of them say yes. They make millions of dollars a year. The one location can make 2 or 3 million a year, whatever, or more. And so all they have to pay is $10,000 of their own money to have skin in the game. Chick-fil-A does everything else for you. They tell you what city, what location you're going to start your own Chick-fil-A, and then it's a successful Chick-fil-A because they put a rock star in place that they know is going to in the right area, that knows going to do a great job for them, not just a random anybody off the street buying a Chick-fil-A and starting one.
I love that. And you talk about a company who is all about culture, who's all about their people, and forward, service forward. And there's a reason why they do that. And I could not agree with that, with the philosophy more of just like, it is about getting the right person in the right seat, especially in that leadership thing. Because if the foundation is good, as Maren Morris said, if the bones are good, man, the rest don't matter. That's it. You gotta, is that Maren Morris? I think it's Maren Morris. Yes.
Nice. Now they do take 50% of your profits at Chick-fil-A, but hey, $10,000, you got your own Chick-fil-A.
I think you'd rather be a part of something that is extremely successful, and then also with a team around you that is going to make sure that they're playing to your strengths and all that, than to be out on some island and be completely alone, fending for yourself in every way. So I think that if you were to interview the Chick-fil-A people who are getting the 50% taken, they'd probably be like, yeah, but you know what they give for that 50%? They're giving me all the support and all the leadership that I need, and everything. I mean, it is all about, what do they say? Elon Musk owns like 17% of Tesla. It's completely okay to have that plurality of ownership in the sense, and that does make for success a lot of times.
One of the great things about Chick-fil-A that's often missed is the reason why it's so successful is because the person that puts up the 10,000 is committed. The reason how they're committed is they sign a contract of, hey, this is how long you have to do this. And then that person is so committed that 10,000 they put up, they take the 50%, but they have, like you said, a market leader who's committed to the job. So it works, man. So, and it was awesome meeting your market leader last night, man. So he was a great guy.
we have gotten so fortunate, and maybe it is because of just our intention of getting the right people, but in every market that we've launched into, we have just had the right person at the right time in both their life with the experience, and they're all unique. We have not had a single market leader that looks background anything like the other market leaders, but what they all have in common is that they are committed to service. They love people. They're going to be all about excellence, and those people still exist in our society. I'm convinced of it. I've seen it happen already, and we don't launch a market until we found one of those.
One thing I want to ask you, especially for like the people who weren't there last night, not only what markets are you currently in? Because I know you just came to Texas, and then also can you kind of just give like a brief overview of how your team changes the entire turnover process for a potential host?
Yeah. So I'll start with the markets that we're in. We are headquartered and started in the Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona market, and that was where we started 2 years ago. And we now are in the Houston, Texas market, as well as Galveston. We also are in Boise, Idaho. We are then in the Flagstaff and Sedona area of Arizona as well. And then now, as of recently, we just launched in Dallas, Texas, and Omaha, Nebraska. Those are the official ones. I could give you a couple of the unofficial. We're going to be in a couple of markets here in the next couple of weeks. So if you follow our Instagram, you can see the new markets as we're launching them. But we're doing it strategically. But those are the markets that we're in right now. And yeah, I could get into a little bit of what you said about how we kind of go. If you wanted me to dive into that, yeah, the how we transition the overall on-site operations is that we bundle the process that needs to happen at the house, which is that there's got to be cleaning, there's got to be laundry that happens at some way, and then there's got to be guest essentials. So those three things, we take each of those items and we just obsess over them. So we do the cleaning by providing the cleaners. We also we're compensating them, we're training them, we are verifying who they are, making sure that we know we have the right team there. We're doing all the laundry off-site, not relying on the washers and dryers in the unit. So that way they're getting a full cycle each time. We're doing that with standardized linens. So you've got your white hotel style linens and towels, bath mats, kitchen towels, everything that needs to be laundered. We do that off-site. And then we also combine the guest essentials, which are the soaps, the paper products, your consumable items like trash bags and dishwasher pods, the things that the guests need to have. And we ensure that they are there because we are actually providing those items, and we're purchasing them, placing and providing them each time. So that bundled service is in a nutshell what we do for our host partners.
So a host doesn't have to worry about restocking, sending stuff to cleaners anymore. Well and Good's going to handle all of that.
Yeah, no more purchasing toilet paper from Amazon, hoping that it gets to your cleaner in time to stock the house. Yeah, I know that world. I was a host. I know, and I still do hosting. It is a totally different world when you are talking about having that truly done by somebody, a company who is really doing it well. And so yeah, there's no purchasing of the guest essentials that's needed on the host. You look at all the line items that a typical host has, right? They've got their consumable line items, they've got their linen line items, they've got their cleaners, everything about that. We take that and bundle it together, and that bundle brings the value with it, but it also brings the actual product in the field to be great. Like the houses are going to be stocked. There's not going to be a question of whether the linens are stained or not. It's all there, and it's certainly it's what was needed in this industry, and we found the right way to do it.
You're muted, Steve.
Okay, my first mistake of the day. So you keep saying houses. Are the only places you service are houses, or you do 1-bedroom condos, 2-bedroom condos, anything like that?
Yeah, any size property. We service any size property. We don't do any I would say commercial, but any residential unit that is, if it's got a bed, we service it. Yeah. There's condos. We work with some properties that are full buildings, where it's a building that is all short-term rentals, and we will service that. Even big boutique hotels, we are working with some of those. So any type of size is definitely doable for our company, provided that it's in one of the markets that we service.
Now, here's a question on that, because that's, for example, for a house, I think is a wonderful thing, and it validates the price tag. Your price is a little higher than like just me hiring a cleaner off the street to do something, right? Now, there's pros and cons to that, of course, but like, let's just say, for example, here in Dallas, I can get a cleaner for around $60-65 to do a turnover, right? And you're a bit more. So do you think that it doesn't make sense that some of the smaller units that aren't maybe class A unit, you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a class B or C unit.
I think that there are some properties that you could say fit the need for our service more than others, and I think all of them can benefit, no question. But they're one of the things is, does that one bedroom that you described, does it have a laundry capability, right? Because if you don't have the ability to do laundry, then our service becomes like a necessity almost no matter what. But let's say that you've got the one bedroom that's in an area that's maybe not near other condos, and it's going to be something that the cleaner's going to go there and do that laundry on site. Because if you have an on site unit, I'm certainly not saying that's not an option. Certainly it is. And so yeah, there's different properties that would make more sense. What we know is that we're going to benefit every property. Our benefit rises a lot more when you have more beds, for sure, because that means more laundry that needs to be done on site. And then also, if you don't have the ability to do laundry at all, take the unit that doesn't have the laundry capabilities, or even has like a shared laundry where the cleaners have to be going down and doing a coin operated something or other. That just gets really intricate, and it leads to bad decisions being made by the cleaners. That's the problem, is that if you're setting your cleaners in those positions, what we know is they're gonna just be like, all right, screw it, I'm throwing the old sheets back on. This is where it's gonna be. And so we eliminate those variables, and I think that is one of those things that does help, especially if there's not laundering capabilities in those one bedroom that you're referring to.
I'm happy you brought that up, because I'm having to fire a cleaner right now because of this exact situation where my people, the guest shows up, the place sleeps 7, they only left out 4 towels. I'm like, come on, man. But it sounds like you guys solved that issue because you're providing the linens. And then also, is your turnovers a little bit faster because you don't have to wash on site, and therefore we can probably, get guests in sooner or things of that nature?
Absolutely. That's the other thing, is it promotes efficiency across the board. So not only is there no variables, right? So they're going to come with everything they need. So there's no chance that there's not enough of something, but it is so much. They can focus on the clean, do the clean, and then move on to the next property. And so for the cleaners, it's more efficient, but for the guest side of it, yeah, they're able to get in faster. And we do see 82% of our properties are available for at least a 2-hour minimum early check-in. And so that's a huge thing. I know that as I'm traveling, I'm always wanting to, guests want, newsflash, guests want to stay later and then get in earlier. We know that. That's the way that this business is. And so how we do our service accommodates both. And our client leads team is also really good at working with our teams to see, like, hey, can we allow a late checkout here? Can we allow an early check-in? Let's do that. The other aspect is hosts have access to see when we wrap up our service. They can then see, okay, it's done. Let's send the guest in. So yeah, a lot of benefits there to getting people in the houses. That's the goal. I mean, like, the goal is let's get people in, let's get them happier. That if you got a guest that's asking for an early check-in, if you can grant that, your chances of a successful stay within that guest just skyrocket, right? Whereas if you're not able to grant it, they're walking in a little frustrated. They're like, man, I've been sitting at the local Starbucks for the last 3 hours trying to get into this place, and they're just, tired. Traveling is a whole thing. And so no doubt, I want to get guests into the houses as soon as possible. And our systems help that.
Now, do you got, go ahead, Steve.
Oh, sorry. Now check this out real quick, because I know y'all are doing the full thing, the full turnover, laundry, linens, supplies, everything. Now, I'm going to get to snacks and food. I want to bring that up because, okay, it's cool. It's easy enough to say, hey, tell the cleaner to leave a couple snacks out and a couple waters, whatever. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's whatever. But beyond that, something that we've always thought of in the industry is upsells. We hear people say that, oh, you could sell like a little popcorn and Coke and, snack package for their movie night at the, Netflix and chill. You could sell, different things and make some money, or even put a vending machine in your place. But the only thing that I always come back to is like, okay, our cleaners are already, okay, we got some decent cleaners, but they're not. I would say if you ask for anything else, it would be damn near impossible because they're always pushing it on time, right? And so would your team be able to provide services like that?
So what I would say is when we do that, we will do it right. And the fact that we haven't done it yet is because we don't know exactly how we're going to pull some of that off in terms of that, because I do agree that there's a big market for the vending machine type of capability. I'm staying at an Airbnb right now that we were like, man, it'd be nice to have a bottle of wine. And like, that would be really cool if you could, make that happen and send a code with your thing. That exists. But I think that It's all about, can it be done really well? Because the worst thing is to have that be there and it not be stocked or it not be right. And so what we do provide is a la carte gift baskets. So if you have a guest that you're wanting to provide a bottle of wine in advance for, we do that. We do also, the bottles of water, and we do supply gift baskets, but that's a nuanced thing. I think we were talking about this a bit, like just, the individual couple bottles of water doesn't really move the needle to just give that to the guests each time. Probably not as much, but I do love the idea of being able to either provide something customized for them as a gift, or potentially provide them options to be able to purchase. And we're working on that. I can't say that I've got the exact solutions yet, but I think we will be the company to provide those solutions. We're big on, like, man, if we do it, we want to make sure we can do it right. And that's coming. And I'm with you that it does help if it's an option.
Because if you can do it right, it would pretty much pay for your service by the stuff we could sell to these guests.
I agree. And especially if you found just a few items, like you said, the popcorn's good, definitely the bottle of wine. I think people would be into that, as long as you can figure out the legalities of that. Like there's some aspects to selling it that is different versus actually giving it. And so those are the things that we'd want to like cross over in terms of the hurdles. But we know we can give the bottle of wine and we can give the bottle of champagne for the anniversary. You have a guest that's coming, it's their anniversary. We can do it, and our teams will write a nice note on it and things like that. So those things exist, but the large scale standardized vending machine style, there are some companies that try to do it. And Stephen, you said it so well. They're relying on a cleaning team to actually execute that. So then the technology company that's putting that in oftentimes ends up looking silly because the cleaning team doesn't back it up with actually getting it restocked correctly and things like that. So yeah, it's an interesting whole side of the industry that's probably coming, but it's just, where is it right now? Still in flux.
Now, with your guys, how you guys operate, do you guys have a supply closet on site, or do you guys have it off site? How does that work?
So we eliminate the inventory closet as it's been known within the industry, which is great. Yeah. The inventory closets are a nightmare within our industry. It looks like Costco threw up in it. It's just not. It's not what you want. And what we do have a 1 foot by 2 foot area underneath the sink. It's going to have a blue mat, and that is all that we need in terms of space to be able to store anything. So it's not locked. It's nothing like that. That is where we store things like the laundry pods, or the dishwasher pods, things like our foaming hand soap refills, things like that for our teams to refill. So yeah, that's it. It's a 1 foot by 2 foot area, and it's underneath the sink. If for some reason there's not availability underneath the sink, we find the closest cabinet or something like that works for it. But it's a blue mat, so it's very specific that's where our items are going to live. But the nice thing is we don't lock those areas up. We don't have that with a different code and all this stuff. And you've seen some of these like crazy, somebody's got to go hide a key or do this. And it's just it's complicated for the cleaners. And again, I've been in these cleaners' shoes where they're like, all right. And you know what they end up doing is just screw it. I don't know where to find this lockbox that you're talking about. And I'm not leaving the toilet paper out now. And that's the issues that our industry has seen so much. So yeah, eliminating that, having them bring in what they need each time is the main thing.
Or the previous cleaner takes off with the damn key, and then
yes. Goodness.
Yeah, we've seen it all, man.
We've seen it all.
So I want to bring up something. So last night it was really cool. We had our meetup and Dallas meetup, and y'all sponsored it. We appreciate that, man.
Mm-hmm.
You paid for the alcohol.
Happy to do that.
Yeah. People were happy too. So it was a great turnout, great event. And so someone on your team, I forgot her name, a Hispanic girl. What's her name? She's on your team.
Chelsea, although she might have taken offense to this Hispanic, because she's definitely black, but she can, you can go wherever you want there. She's
black?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think she knows Spanish. You know what's interesting? Sean speaks Spanish. Chelsea does not. Yeah. So that's a whole. But Chelsea's who you're referring to. Yeah. And Sean, for you guys that weren't there last night, Sean's like the whitest guy that's ever existed, and he's out there, Mr. Bilingual over there. Yeah,
it was awesome. I loved it.
But Chelsea, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Micah, you thought she was Mexican, right?
I did.
Did you?
I did. I ain't gonna lie.
Chelsea, I hope you're listening to this. This is great. Well,
Oh Lord. So she, real cool girl. She said
Yeah.
something cool. She said when you told her about how your business, it brought her to tears. Why did it bring her to tears?
Oh man, I think a lot of times there's this element within folks that do this work that really they feel like they are the nameless and the faceless people in our industry, right? There is very little positive recognition, whereas everything that they hear is negative. If they screw something up, they're all hearing it nonstop. But they really a lot of times don't have the belief that there's somebody who's got their back and who's actually working to make their lives a little bit better on the labor front. And I think when she first came on with us, she was apprehensive. I feel like, like, is this company actually legit? Like, this is the first market that they've expanded into. What's this going to be like? And so there was a bit of that. She kind of did take the leap, and now that it's proven to be something that's helping her and her family, and that one of the biggest things that people, one of the most powerful things that people can feel is when they feel seen, like actually seen as a person and actually recognized. And some of the work that these people do is so difficult, and it's like, let's hype that up and let's let people know that they are seen for the work they're doing. And so I think that may be it. She would be able to answer that question more so than I could, but I think that's a lot of it, is that we are acknowledging the hard work that's done, and we're literally saying our company was built for the servicers more than anything, because we know if we have great servicers, then the host will feel the benefits, the guests will feel the benefits. There will be all these compounding effects, but it starts with doing right by the people who are doing the hardest work in our entire industry.
And if anybody any host out there knows that they've had to rush over there and do a cleaning because for some reason a cleaner couldn't make it that day, that's when we really like, oh, okay, yeah. we see what's going on here. We might have been cursing them out a little too early. They do a lot of work in these places.
It's so different when you see it from a computer screen or a click, and like, hey, get that done. Is that job finished? When we tell our administrative team, do not look at just the thing goes from not completed to completed, and we're just waiting for that to happen. Think about what needs to actually happen for that to go on. There is so much work and sweat, and the actual labor is real. And you said it so well. Like, once you get into that arena and you've actually been there with the clock ticking and a guest waiting to show up, and there's a lot that needs to happen, and if you don't get it right, you're going to be on the hook for everything. A lot of that is, it's pressure and it's labor and it's fatiguing, and we shout out the good all the time. We say that, that's one of our core values, is that we are going to shout out the good. We are going to be very much letting the folks know that they're appreciated, the work that they do. That's why, the photos thing is great. People get to show off their work via photos, and someone sees those photos and somebody recognizes that. And it's cool to see. And I think Chelsea's also seen too, it's cool to bring other folks into the world of well and good. So she's been able to build a team, and she's been able to say, hey, when you work with us, you'll see it too. And so there's that element of the folks that are out there that maybe not in the right setup. They may be getting screwed over by having to do all these different things, or they may not be getting the accolades that they deserve. And it's like, yeah, there's a better way.
I like that. So one thing also, because I mean, we in this industry, we come across a rock star cleaner every now and then, by luck, and it's awesome. And the problem is, a lot of people start finding out about this rock star cleaner you got, and next thing you know, they're trying to do 25 jobs in one day, and they get to your house 30 minutes before check-in. So I guess they don't have any kind of management in process, or something to help them schedule and do things and not try to bite off more than they can chew. I assume that you do that for your cleaners, where they don't have 20 jobs in one day and they can't get to yours until like 30 minutes before check-in.
Yeah, that's a big part, is just knowing your teams. And the only way to know your teams is to be local there on site and know that the capacity of that team. And sometimes people will overestimate their own capacity, and we got to be watching that and be like, nope, sorry. Even though you say you might want to, we've got to prove this, that you can run before you can walk before you run, kind of thing. So yeah, that is a lot of our business, is putting the right team there, assigning them to the properties. And that includes so much nuance. And one of them being, what is the capacity of the team? What is the actual schedule? Where are they coming from? All those different aspects is so huge. And we have to get that part right, and we do. And it's the, it goes back to that we obsess over it. So we're literally like sitting there looking at, do I have the right person scheduled here? And we schedule a week in advance, but then we're looking at it every day to make sure that it still is right based off of that capacity of the team. And I'd say one more thing about that too. Another core value of ours, based off of last time's conversation, I always talk about core values, but one of them is that we operate with margin that brings confidence. So meaning that we do need to not operate on a razor's edge all the time, whether that's the fact that there's a team who's right up against the edge, or just right, in general, having enough teams, right? We want to make it to where if somebody does have the flat tire, that we have enough margin to where we can adjust in that situation and send another team. And that's one of the benefits, because you mentioned the unicorn cleaner. Everybody loves the unicorn cleaner until the unicorn cleaner's back goes out, and all of a sudden you don't have the unicorn cleaner anymore. So yeah, that's margin brings confidence, no question.
And like, how do you guys run your operations? Because like I just started, by the way, I just started I just onboarded my 5 units. And I'm getting everything sent across, getting all my links sent across. How are we able to, do you guys are you guys going to our Slack channel? How do we get you guys to how do does your team communicate with, let's say we already have a team of VAs in place that runs saying what needs to be restocked or anything like that? How do you guys coordinate that communication?
Yeah. So first, I'll be excited to come on in a year from now and talk to you, having been through all that and having seen it all, because I love getting the feedback as it's happening, and then also as it's been going for a while, because it's awesome. But yeah, the communication happens primarily through our client leads team, which they are on Slack a lot. And so we work with your Slack channels is probably the most preferred method. Is like, if a team's already got Slack communication happening, that's awesome. And if not, we do have a text line that is set up for our host as well. So our host can text our text line, and that goes to all of our client leads, not to one individual, but to our client leads as a group. And same thing with our email. So the client leads team is the ones, and keep in mind, the scheduling is automated. So we're not going to need to be emailing each other about, hey, there's a checkout here. We know the overall schedule. The communication is more for when there are those variances, or when there's something unique that pops up, or when there's a question about something specific. But we do like to have our technology be able to automate the scheduling, so we don't have to have, I'm going to give another core value goodness. It was that we insist on effective communication, which means that we don't want to over communicate things. We want it to be where we have systems in place to do the majority of the communication. So then our communication is reserved for those times where there's something that's unique outside of the norm. And that happens. Slack is a great spot, but then our text channel is good too, all with the client leads. And then the client leads will disperse that information across our organization.
Awesome.
Cool. So you only use high-end products, I hear?
Our products are good. Yeah. And one of the things too is having been doing this now for a couple of years, our products keep getting better because we're always looking for what is the better product. And so one of the things is we have a partnership with Public Goods Soaps, which is the highest level of soaps. They're so good, and their branding is great. Their actual product is awesome. So that's shampoo, conditioner, body wash. And we're always looking to elevate our products. Standard Textile provides our linens. That's a high quality company as well. There's some things that we look at and we say, it's really good right now. It's better than any other out there, but we could still elevate it even further. So we're always looking to upgrade everything. But what we say is there's no 1-star anything. We don't do the 1-star, the 1-ply toilet paper or something like that. That's just not our brand. And it is an elevated service because we have to put our kind of, confidence level that it works for any type of property. And so always solid, but definitely getting better even as we go. We're looking at some products, and I'm excited about some of the things that we're introducing. Yeah, I could say it. We're going to be doing slippers before long, where it's going to be a pair of slippers for every guest. That is one of the things. These are things that move the needle for. It's why people like to go to hotels, because they feel pampered, and we can provide that. Now, you can't provide it unless you have a service who's able to provide it, who's able to do it consistently, because you don't want to promise something and not have it. But we know that when we roll that out, which will be before the end of this year, we are going to be putting slippers, brand new slippers for every guest that stays. And it's just, those things are kind of where our service is trending, which is we want to be able to provide that higher level guaranteed experience within this industry that people crave when they're traveling.
Here's something that made me think of that, because our buddy, a friend of the show who couldn't show up last night, Mike Brown. Long time ago, when me and him were just acquaintances, we were managed by the same company, and they took care of the cleaning as well, whatever. And well, Mike Brown called me one day. He's like, "Hey man, do you have a problem?" Because he bought high-end towels, high-end sheets, high-end whatever. But the cleaning lady would take everything off site, wash it, and his place would end up with the low-end stuff, the Walmart stuff. And whenever he did inspect his house, he's like, "What's this? I bought the high-end stuff." And now she just, she's putting whatever at whatever unit and not keeping track of anything.
Oh, that's such a good point. This happens so often, and it is just, yeah. You get a host who feels like they've got it all set, right? Their inventory closet looks amazing. It's all organized. They got all, and then they show up a month and a half later and they're like, "What happened here?" And that is a very nuanced. How does that happen? Well, sometimes it can be because a cleaner just straight up takes advantage of you, which is not good. Like somebody just taking some stuff and putting in something, that's not okay. But a lot of times it's more just the systems aren't great. The cleaner probably didn't even know that this linens belong to this particular property and all that, which is why I'm such a believer in let's standardize the linens. Let's make it high end across the board, and know at least that the basics, the sheets, the pillowcases, the towels are all going to be nice, and they're all going to be the same. And I love customized things, right? I like custom, throw blankets or pillows, things like that, accent pillows. They provide the color and the personality, but we got to get the basics to be the same, and they got to be done right.
Yeah. So to me, what stands out is like, okay, we're hosts. We kind of get good at getting hosts and getting clients, getting our calendars filled. We're worrying about our PMP. We're worrying about our pricing. We're worrying about so many things. We're a management company. We're an arbitrager. We're not. One thing we're not a cleaning company. And so I admit that 100%. I'm not a cleaning company. I don't want to start a cleaning company but if I did, and if I put all 100% into it, like you did, okay, yes, but not if I'm going to kind of half-ass be like a host, hospitality professional plus a cleaning company. It's too many hats to wear.
It's not like hosts can't do it. It's that it's probably not the best usage of the time for them to do it and go out and do it. Because this is something where if you obsess over it and you really spend a lot of time and energy, everybody can figure out the best way to do it. But it's just a matter of is that your primary core business? And you mentioned it with the host. The host should be focused on guest experience and property acquisitions and all those different things that hosts should be putting their energy towards. But sadly, a lot of them end up halfway running a cleaning company, and nothing is done well when it's done halfway. And it's just, it needs to be focused across the board. And that's why we say we're not the host, right? Because if we were the host, we would have a problem with focus as well. And we partner with hosts to be able to have them be great at what they do. We will be great at ours. And that is, as the industry becomes more professionalized, it does require that direct focus of one thing. None of us are superhumans that can do everything at once, and to act like we are is naive a lot of times. So yeah, it's not like you can't do it if you really were to spend all your energy and attention there, but it's just a matter of whether that's the best usage for the energy.
Now, does Well and Good do anything on the maintenance front?
A bit. Yeah, it's kind of similar to what you were saying with the gift basket thing, where we want to be able to do it really well. And that's something that we would say overall, we don't tackle large maintenance things, but there's a lot of things that we can do that are the small ones that can save a trip from somebody. Take, the classic example of the shower curtain fell down. Well, we can get that taken care of. We can deal with the putting the batteries into the locks to make sure that you're actually going to get access locks happening, light bulbs, those basic things. We do those, and we do them on an a la carte basis. But it's going to be a lot better value than having to send out a handyman for those really smaller things. Once you get into larger projects, we're generally going to refer to, hey, let's get somebody who is a professional handyman service in these larger projects. But there's a lot of things, and we even have some teams that can take on some of those larger projects too. So we always say, if we have a solution for something, we're going to present that solution. We're going to let you know, hey, we can either look into this for you, or we can do it ourselves. But either way, we're going to let you know of things, and then we're going to try to guide towards the best solution, whether that's us or not.
Now, like for batteries, because that's one of the biggest things. What do you like when you work with your clients? What's the best way to do it? Do they just have a battery drawer? Do they have it in? We have your own spot for your stuff, but I mean, or do y'all just your cleaners always have a bunch of batteries on them? How do y'all do that?
We have a once a month service that is a specific type of inspection that goes in there with a teammate who has those items. So basically that's going to be like a one-time thing. So every month they would get done on a scheduled basis, much more than on a checkout basis. And so that's how we do those ongoing items. Air filters is another thing that we've looked into. And those are things that we're still, I said it earlier, this is stuff that we're still figuring some of these things out, but the way that we're doing it now is that we do go in on a scheduled basis to do some of those things that need to be done on a schedule. And those are not the disposal that just happened to break. It's more like the things that we know are going to need to be done, the batteries and things like that. So that's the way that we do it now, on a scheduled basis, done during an inspection, but that inspector comes with those items, the batteries or whatever it may need to be to do that.
Yeah, filters is big because especially here in Texas, because summertime it's gonna get like 110 degrees outside. And you have a clogged up filter, you're gonna get like a $500 electric bill in that one bedroom.
You're right. From the efficiency perspective alone, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Arizona, same way.
And I'm sorry, I'm hogging up the interview. Micah, you got any questions?
Oh, keep going.
Okay. You mentioned something cool last night too. Was okay, of course you'll take a ton of photos, right? Ton of photos before, after, all that stuff. But you said something that I never heard before. You take photos of the appliances. Why is that important?
Yeah, the inside of every appliance, because there's a lot of times doors behind those things. And you take a picture of the kitchen, it does not show the whole picture of what's inside those things. So we take the picture of inside of every appliance mainly just to show that it's empty. Like that, in a strict way, that's the best way to do it. You don't want to have the surprise when you open up the fridge and all of a sudden there's something in there you didn't want, or the same thing with the dishwasher, etc. So we open it and take the picture inside of it just to give more transparency. The closed door thing kind of doesn't tell the whole picture.
I have another question. I have a lot of questions because this is like cleaning is like the most important part of this whole freaking business, but people don't admit it, right?
Yeah.
And so, as I was gonna ask some other stuff, but real quick on this note, back to the lone wolf cleaner. Now, why? Or would they be better off staying lone wolf and doing it their way, or actually working for y'all?
Yeah, that's something that we talk with cleaners a ton about, which is, what we do is definitely beneficial to the vast majority of cleaners, whether they have their own business going or they're doing this on the side. Either way, there are some major inefficiencies to what they're doing. And so the cleaners that are the best at their job, they really want to focus on doing the clean. And so we set them up for that. We also are paying on a great schedule that is going to be guaranteed to know that you're getting paid fairly for what you're doing. There's no questions on payments. There's no back and forth of having to send an invoice. That's one thing. A lot of times the individual cleaners got to be sending out an invoice. Then they got to be following up with those clients to make sure they actually got paid for something. And there's a lot of back end business stuff that honestly, most of the individual, the unicorn lone wolf cleaners, they're so good at what they do, but they also are admittedly not always the best at some of those back end things. So they can be out there crushing it and then still not feeling like they're making the money like they wish they would, or not feeling like they have their ducks in a row from a business perspective. And we do help people feel like they're more in control of their business from the perspective of they can see the cash flow in, they can see what their work orders were. It's all very encapsulated, much more than, I've got a million different clients that I'm working for, all these different hosts, and I'm trying to navigate it, trying to send invoices, all that stuff. It's all consolidated through one spot. So yeah, of course I feel like it's best for those people, but we've seen the cleaners definitely, they've come to work with us for a reason, and it is because we help them a lot with those logistical things that allow them to focus on what they're great at.
And that brings me to another question, because Steve, you make a good point. So let's say you do have the cleaner who's a lone wolf, but they may have a couple of people under them, but those couple of people under them aren't the best, right? So with that cleaner, I mean, would you be able to take that cleaner and her team and then kind of train them up to your standards and bring them in and still use them?
Yeah, totally. So you're going to have everybody who's going to be in our properties. There's going to be the verified well and good professional, right? So that's the person who's trained. They have the identification showing who they are. But a lot of times they're going to have teammates that are working with them, and that is totally awesome within our organization. We are great with that. What we do require, though, is that there is our trained, verified, and compensated professional on site during the service. So we don't really have it be a case where a team is going to be, or like our teammate is going to have multiple amount of crews that we don't know who they are, and we are then not having them be able to communicate with us in our team. So that's, and our a lot of our teams do have, like, let's say they have 2 crews or 3 crews that they're having go to different properties. That totally works. They just have their crew leads make sure that they have our Slack to be able to communicate with our team, as well as then our Breezeway to be able to upload the photos. And so it can be done with larger crews even within, but we have to be able to communicate with them, and our teams communicate in every language. We are able to make sure that there's all of our team that works with anybody on field is able to communicate and be fully able to have dialogues with anybody in that sense, and that does help a ton.
Oh, especially in Texas. Heck yeah. I love that.
Oh, you got to be bilingual in this business. And I'm not myself, but every one of our corporate support team that's in our field solutions department is all bilingual. That is something that is absolutely mandatory to have. Our market leaders, like, we see that there is the bilingual nature of our business is important, and we are a proud bilingual company. Like, I don't need to have them feel like they're not able to be communicating in our company. A professional should be able to communicate fully in English or Spanish, and one day Polish, and we're going to work to expand that a bit. But we know at least we're very, very bilingual at this point.
Now, how do y'all handle the quality control aspect of this, making sure they're doing a great job?
Yeah, so that leads to the market leader. That means that, you got to have an on-site service, and that on-site service has the market leader who is doing inspections and then builds an inspections team. So we are going to have individuals who are doing the inspections, and what they are doing. So that blue mat that I mentioned earlier, the blue mat has our liquid supplies on it, and so they are both restocking the liquid supplies as well as inspecting the actual home. And so that happens on the back of the clean. So after the clean is done, we inspect. About 80% of our cleans get a secondary person going into the property. There's some that don't get it, whether it's a same-day check-in that the guest is trying to get in early, or there's some unique circumstances where there's not going to be an inspector. But over 80% of our properties are having a second set of eyes go in there. So our quality control happens primarily through that, but also we have a processing team who is looking through every one of these photos to make sure that everything is looking the way that our standards are. And photos don't always tell the entire story, but they do tell a story, right? They are going to give you an indication as to whether something's really off or not. But I am very much not an or guy. I don't think you should have a on-site inspection or a processing QC. It's both. We have both, and I'm an and person. Use them both, and we need to have those, and we do.
No, this one question to ask about photos as well. Mike, you know how it is dealing with Airbnb sometimes. Do you guys have time-stamped photos that come back to us? So if we have to protect ourselves from Airbnb or guests?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of Breezeway. Breezeway does timestamp everything, and you can see all of it through the work order that Breezeway has created on the day of. And another thing too is, like, the cleaners have to take the pictures within the app, so they can't upload photos that are older photos, potentially, things like that. So we've really tried to make sure to know that the photos that were taken that day. They are associated with that particular work order, that particular address. It's all there. Breezeway helps us. We're the best at helping hosts get claims, taken care of, because they're able to have all the documentation, the invoicing, all that stuff is there. And we know too, Airbnb is wanting that faster. They want it all right away, et cetera. So we work in that world for sure. And our technology does help us there.
Man, this is Breezeway. So, wow, that's something. Wow.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And I was going to mention Breezeway is a great, they're a large company within this space, and we do pay for the Breezeway side. So our hosts do not have to pay for the Breezeway. They get the access to Breezeway, but they don't have to. It's not something that they have to pay for their own login for that. They log in via our login, and so they're able to get the view of their properties alone, and that does help for them to not have to go out and get a new technology stack. They don't have to stack something else when you get well and good, in essence.
I like that.
We got enough bills. We got enough recurring monthly bills that hosts have to deal with. So yeah, we take that one.
Now, would you consider your turnovers deep cleans, or are they just a turnover clean?
So we have a deep clean schedule. So we will do the deep cleans once every 6 months. That does happen within our schedule. And, the deep cleans are going to be those times where a great example, the best example of what a deep clean is versus a standard clean, the cabinets. So we are going to organize kitchen cabinets on every standard clean to make sure that they're presented well and they look nice. But we do not take all of the contents out of the cabinets each time and wipe down the entire cabinet and reset them each time. We're going to have them organized on the standard, but on the deep clean, we are going to take all the items out of the cabinets. We're going to be doing the full internal thing. So that's a good example of where a deep clean doesn't make sense. It would be silly to do that on every turnover, to be honest. Like if you did that, you'd be not being efficient, but it does need to be done on occasion. And so that's where our deep clean once every 6 months is the way that we do that. And it's worked well. There's also, you can have a deep clean upon request or deep clean based off of a necessity. So a host can say, hey, can I have more deep cleans? Or we could also come in and recommend one based off of maybe there was a long-term stay that really was gnarly and it requires that. And so we will be in communication on that, but a minimum of once every 6 months is when we do our deep cleans.
Nice. Now I was going to ask, now you mentioned markets you're getting into. Now, what stands out to me, sometimes we talk to hosts in certain markets, like we had one in New Hampshire, right? And they're saying just labor is ridiculous over there, or whatever city. Does that keep y'all from operating in certain cities because labor is hard to find and it's super expensive?
I would say the expensive part, every market is going to be priced based off of its individual market. So we do factor that a bit. And so I think the harder the market, the more likely that our service would actually be a big benefit, because we're gonna have cleaners that may not be wanting to do the Airbnb cleanings the way that it's always been. I think that again leads to our pool is a little bit bigger because we do the offsite laundering and the guest essentials are provided, things like that. Would I say that I would stay away from particular markets based off of the labor market and the labor climate? I would say this. We look at markets where we have definite market leader presence. So we have to have some sort of an on-site feeling of like there's going to be somebody who can build a team here for sure. But I don't shy away from a market, I would say, because it's harder to build the labor, because there are good people in every market. They might need to be paid a little bit more, honestly. Like that might need to be a factor within you look at New Hampshire is a great example. Northeast is more expensive in a lot of ways. And so we have to account for that. But I don't think that limits us from being able to serve there. I think we just have to be understanding of each market is different and there's nuance to each one. Travel is another example. I mean, if somebody's sitting an hour in traffic, we got to make sure that we know that's part of the area.
So okay. Now we're gonna go off topic a little bit. We talked a lot about cleaning. One thing that stood out, you've got a lot of presence in Arizona, right? What the hell happened during the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I mean, any time where there's this crazy expectations within an area, everybody floods to it. And we saw this the most with Arizona and the Super Bowl coming. And there's been a huge just conversation about the fact that you can get $10,000 a night for a short-term rental there. So you had not only regular short-term rental operators, but midterm rental operators and individuals who had their own houses. They started to say, well, wait, if you can get $10,000 a night, I'm going to put my house up on Airbnb. And there were over 4,000 additional short-term rentals that were added for that particular weekend. And it saturated the market. It flooded the market so much that the other thing, so that really hurt the local host, because those big events it's just complicated, especially for management companies that were promising their owners that they were going to get these big bookings. That looked really, really gnarly. And I think, to that point, I wrote an article about this that said, there was a lot of focus on the short-term rental industry over the Super Bowl weekend. And focus is maybe exactly what we need. Like the management companies, they need to be focused on getting their bookings, and maybe partnering with Well and Good would have been a better move for them. So they wouldn't be as focused on this nuanced labor or things like that. They're more focused on getting bookings. That's something that we saw that people didn't really, always have in place. And our hosts we saw were a lot more focused on getting the bookings, and it did help them for sure. But man, it was tough. It was tough across the daily rates went down a lot lower. I think overall, major expectations are always tough to manage. The other last thing I would say on the Super Bowl, we found that for big events, for corporate events, a lot of times Airbnb, and Micah, you talked about this last night, Airbnb is not always the channel in which a lot of times corporate travel people are going. And the Super Bowl, the people that are coming for the Super Bowl are oftentimes booked through a company or booked through something like that. And that leads to, you have to be diversified in your booking channels. And I know y'all preach that so much, and it was seen very evidently within that weekend.
I love that you brought that up, because that's what I'm thinking. Okay, Airbnb is such an easy barrier to entry. So if all these people know the Super Bowl's coming, yeah, they'll just throw up any old room, house, whatever. Market's just saturated. And back in 2017, you could do that because they did it in Houston. You had people making $10,000, $12,000 on the weekend in Houston with any old house. And so that being diversified and having a brand, where I was telling people last night, phone. Call somebody. Like, if you know how many executives you could have called that will probably need a whole house for their team. It's just so many opportunities. And, sometimes that Airbnb thing makes us lazy.
It does. And you know what also we know Airbnb helps is the person who just put their property online. So you had all these people. So they all got juiced up into the algorithms, the 4,000 additional ones. And so, yeah, the existing short-term rentals there that had been around for a while, the ones that were diversified got the bookings. The ones that were not did not.
Yeah.
Now let's talk some business stuff, because, in a sense, because I want to know how you learned this. I mean, I mean, did you get down and dirty and you was scrubbing toilets and you were just turning over beds? Did you get hands-on training to learn like these processes to teach your cleaners?
Yeah, in a short answer, yes. So it was 2020. It was interesting because the pandemic happened, which was actually ended up being a perfect incubator for us to really learn the systems and the processes. So we were out there in Arizona. We did about 2 months of test cleans before we ever did any service, and I was out there myself in the field doing the work in learning the cleans, working with our initial market leader there in Arizona. And I've done a lot of cleaning in my previous career with I had a cleaning company in college, and that was primarily me at the start doing a lot of the labor. And so I know that space, but I didn't know. I know cleaning, I guess you'd say. I didn't know the specifics of short-term rentals. And so what we developed was like a flow. So what is the actual best flow for a cleaner to go into? What's the thing that you should start to do? What's the first step? What's the second step? So when our cleaners get trained, they're trained based off of like a flow that we are confident in, because we did this a lot in person watching it. So it would be both me doing it, other times me just observing and seeing, okay, this worked well or this didn't. And yeah, I'm very much a believer in you got to know anything. Warren Buffett talks about this all the time. He doesn't invest in things he doesn't know. And I am the same way. I don't start a company unless I feel very confident and I know exactly how it should be done. And I've done it myself. And so it's not so much theory, but it is reality. I've cleaned some toilets, man. I've cleaned some toilets.
So when getting in there, getting down and dirty and learning these, hands-on, what were some of the surprises, man? I mean, did you like assume, okay, we always start at the bathroom, we should start at finishing the kitchen, or vice? What were some of the surprises that you found?
Ooh, good question. I think that people would they would mainly clean room by room, which is a terrible way to do it, because
really?
Here's why. You could be having a ticking time bomb happening in the third bedroom that you haven't even been to. And it's now 2:30 in the afternoon. You have not been, and you open up and, oh my gosh, we've got all kinds of problems, right? So we are huge on go into the property, get the everything dirty out. So I can give you a little bit of our flow. It's that we remove all of the trash and all of the dirty linens first in every room. So we are in every room, understanding what it is, because then you get a real idea of what you need to do. Most of the time, cleaners are going in and they are starting in the room this way, and then they're moving to that room, and they're going into the room once and then they're leaving it, and that's it. It is not the most efficient way to do it, even though it seems that way. You leave yourself with potential problems in that other room, and you don't know how much to account for that. So it's huge to get a whole idea of what you have going on before you start the service entirely. And the best thing there too is you're getting the dirty out. You don't want to be cleaning you don't want to have a clean room and a dirty room right next to each other. It's like get the dirty, you don't get the linens out, you don't want to ever characterize a linen, be like, oh, I thought this was a clean one when it was actually a dirty one, things like that. It's like, get everything out, give yourself a blank slate, and then come in with your clean stuff.
So you're like surveying the battlefield.
Correct. It helps. It helps. And then you know what you've got here.
That's interesting, man. Because I mean, just cleaning at your own house, I'm gonna do one room at a time.
Room at a time.
I got cleaning ADD. If I start here, I'm never gonna finish my house, right? So we just do one room at a time. But it's totally different in the turnover world.
And it's mainly about assessing it. So, you do clean a bit room by room, but after you've assessed the whole thing and gotten the dirty out entirely across the entire home.
And okay, you kind of already answered it, but that my next question was, what are some of the biggest cleaning mistakes that you've seen?
The biggest cleaning mistakes, using too much chemicals, is number one on floors. That's always the biggest one. People think that more chemicals is better. It needs elbow grease. That's what it needs. It needs friction. It needs you to press down. Don't think the chemicals are going to save your way out of this. And so that's definitely the biggest one. The sticky floors are not because the floor is dirty. It's because people use way too much chemical and didn't rinse that floor and make sure it's buffed before they left.
The two number one most complained about things from guests is the smell is too strong when they get in there, the fabuloso, whatever they use, or the floors are sticky. And it's not like you said, and then the cleaner will swear up, I cleaned those floors, blah, 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 blah. But maybe they put too much chemical, like you said.
And the floors need to be dried. You can't leave just because everything's wet. So a lot of cleaners love the idea of everything wet when you're leaving, right? The floors are wet. The floors need to be dry when you leave. You need to be able to walk on the floor. So that means taking your actual mop and making sure it's dry enough to where you can buff it. Like a buffed surface is the ultimate clean surface, not just sloshing a bunch of water and chemicals on it.
Now, going back to now the real business part, what things have you learned? Is this the first business you said you ran a cleaning business in college, right?
I had a cleaning company in college, and then I had a service company that serviced foreclosed homes across the Midwest after that. So we did like foreclosed repairs and maintenance on foreclosed homes. Yeah.
So this is, I guess, your third major business?
Third major business, yep, with some involvement in some others, yes.
Okay, let's talk some business shop. What are some things you've learned being on your third business on how to do things, correctly?
Yeah, I think I've been in the service business my whole life, and so with service, I think you cannot overemphasize the major human part of it. You have to have human connection. You have to be doing things with the people in the first and foremost side of it. So I know that sounds all cliche, but it is kind of everything. It's like you can't just try to rule from your ivory tower of sitting up there and having all your people. You got to really feel like you're connected to them. They've got to feel like they're connected to you. Culture is everything. But then I think if you're talking like building teams, there is so much about diversity is everything, and diversity is one of the most overused and under actually accomplished things in our world right now. We all talk about diversity, and we at times get it wrong. We want diversity of thought. We want diversity in every way. I want diversity of age. Age is such a good thing. Get people who have some experience. Get people who are maybe coming from it from a totally different diversity of life perspective, diversity of background. Everything about diversity is something that I just feel like in a service company, you've got to have it. If you have a bunch of you, I say this all the time, like if it's a bunch of Jonathan, we're screwed. Like truly, like we are screwed. We have got to have diversity from every perspective. And that means more than a lot of times what we deem it as in today's society, which I'm all for diversity of ethnicities. Absolutely. We need to have that as well. But it's not the only type of diversity that is needed.
Now, what are some of the biggest mistakes a business owner can make in their business?
Probably not having the money part figured out, not having the business, the back ends, the accounting side. A lot of times people are good at doing the work and they're really bad at running the business from the actual things. A lot of times entrepreneurs aren't accountants and they're not having that stuff done. So you've got to really make sure that you have a plan for that, and the plan needs to start on day one, not once you've gotten larger. And so some of those things are the mistakes that I see people make. Is just they go into it and they're very good at putting up gutters, right? So they're like, okay, because I can put up gutters, I can be in business doing gutters. And it's like there is so much business stuff that you've got to know and you've got to be great at, and you got to learn. We are in an age everybody can get a college degree if they just go on YouTube. I mean, you can literally YouTube your way. You can listen to this podcast and you can learn a whole lot about business, and like you can educate yourselves, and everybody can do it. It's a great time to be in business because the information is no longer hidden in some college classroom. It's everywhere.
I like that. Are you a fan of the profit first method?
Who I love the Profit First Method. I have not read the book. And so my sister got me, and she's like, "You got to read this book. This thing's incredible." So I am aware of it. It's on my list of books to read. But in short, I like the concept. I think that it definitely, like, there is nuance to everything. So I'm all for, you always want to take information and put it through the filter of, and say, okay, that is something that definitely is going to shift my philosophy, but you never want to swing pendulums in that sense. And so I think that they can certainly be helpful, though, no question. A lot of times the last people they're paying are themselves. I get the philosophy. It definitely makes a lot of sense.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm just asking a million questions.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you.
No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm going to say, I should probably do a little profit first myself. I haven't made any money off this company, so I probably haven't done it myself. Sometimes, but because of that, that's where I look and I say, I am all about that, but I'm also, there is sometimes an element when you're looking to scale a company and you're growing, there are some things that do need to be factored into growth, and that's not always taking every dollar immediately.
Okay, maybe Micah can help you with that. Help you put some money in your pocket. What's he doing wrong, Micah? Why isn't he have the money in his pockets?
Profit first, man. That's the answer.
I'm all for it. I think again, you've got to have sustainability is everything. And if I'm a Henry Ford guy, which Henry Ford said the company should make what the company should make. It should be no more. It should be no less. And that is such a big thing. If you're taking too much, you're being greedy. You're going to go out of business because you're not having that. If you're not taking enough, then you're going to go out of business because you don't have money to operate. So like, I am very big on that philosophy is there. And so greed has no place in business, but also lack of profit has no place in business too, because you're just going to go out of business at that point. So I'm definitely in agreement that both have to be there.
Yep. I love that.
And now one more question. Do you think a business can survive or can run debt-free? Is that possible?
Depending on the type of business. I think there's a lot of different types of businesses out there. I think that most great companies have leveraged debt. So I do think that it's rare to find a large company who is making a lot of impact in their industry without using the right type of debt. But could it happen? Yeah, you could, for sure. Especially if, what type of money does the founder have? Is the founder putting in his own money or something like that? There's nuance there for sure.
You know what? I'm happy you brought that up, because I think, and I'm going to bring it back to short-term rentals. I think the easiest way to run a debt-free short-term rental business is through management.
Don't have to put up a lot. Yep. I hear you.
Yeah, it's service-based. Like a lot of service-based businesses, you can be debt-free. If you're just providing a service, that's like the easiest way.
Nice. Yeah, man, we've been talking for over an hour now, man. We got a lot of good info from you. Your company sounds amazing, and we're happy you're finally here to the Dallas area. And Micah's already jumping on board. So if Micah's on board with it, it must be good, right?
Yes, sir. I'm loving it. I'm loving the onboarding team. They have already been coordinating with my VA, Zyra, so they're getting everything set up. And I know you got a Mavs game to catch. I think they fined him $35K for his last gesture.
For his money.
Really? But he's playing though? That's good.
I think he's playing, yeah, because I think he's got one more tech, and then he gets suspended. We gotta keep a lookout of trouble.
We gotta rile him down here a little bit. Yeah. Goodness.
Well, where can people find you, my brother? And if they say Live, Let Thrive sent me, they get a little something.
So that's big. So we are at wellandgood.pro, both on our Instagram, which is at wellandgood.pro, or online, www.wellandgood.pro. So wellandgood.pro is all you need to know to find us. And when you do submit an estimate on our website for any property, if you use the Live, Let Thrive, where it says, it's going to say, where did you get referred by? Live, Let, Thrive. If you put that in, that's going to get you half off of your setup cost for your property. And that setup cost is all the linens, the guest essentials, things like that. The setup cost is very minimal to start with, but you can get it half off if you use this. And that's a great deal for everybody who's listening here and was there last night.
Yes, sir. We're going to go ahead and we will have that in the show notes. And be sure to click that subscribe button below. And yeah, check out the show notes so you guys can get that offer.
It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. I love seeing you last night, meeting in person, and I love what you do in the industry and helping out a lot of hosts. We saw that evident last night by the people who are actually there, and just your impact is really great. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. And thanks for coming, man.
Good stuff.
All right.
Take care. Go Mavs.
Nope.
Thanks.
Go Lakers, but yeah. All right. See ya.
Thanks.
All right, man. That was John Wick. And Jonathan.
Yeah, John Wicks.
I gotta go see number 4. But yeah, man, that was awesome. I'm happy I'm getting onboarded. I love the whole concept of, okay, I no longer have to worry about supplies. I no longer have to be on this cleaner because, man, I'm firing 2 cleaners today. So it's been a hell of a day. But yeah.
Yeah. You what do they say? You'll get as you could be as successful as if you could solve problems, right? You'll be successful and you'll be wealthy if you could help solve other people's problems. And this is by far, we don't talk about it, don't get the glamour, you know what I'm saying? Don't get the clicks, but the cleanings and turnovers, man, that is probably the hardest part to perfect in our industry.
Mm-hmm. It is, man. And especially, and the one thing I love about it, their turnovers more, but look at what you don't have to do. Ordering linens, supplies, you cut that cost and it's just in the cleaning fee. Man, I love that. And you could even kind of manipulate the Airbnb algorithm a little bit and just make it a management fee so they don't even see it.
And the number one cost it saves you is having to think about all this shit. You can say, oh, I can handle this. I can put all my systems in place. I can do this and do that and make a special thing for the cleaners to send this. But what's that pulling you away from? It's pulling you away from finding more clients, finding more properties, and getting more profits, right? So, I mean, yeah, you might figure out the cleaning thing, but it might take 50% of your workday to figure it out. Why not let them do it?
There you go, man. I love it. So I will be giving y'all an update on how it's going once I get fully onboarded. They do my first cleaning on Monday, so let's go.
Ooh. Well, where can people find us, Micah, man?
Find us IG at Live Let Thrive. Send us an email, liveletthrive@gmail.com. If you're on iTunes, make sure you rate us, leave us a good review or a bad one if you hate us. But hey, we'll just probably laugh at you.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, haters gonna hate. We'll probably laugh at you. But make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. And yeah, thank y'all for listening to us. For the people that came out last night, it was an honor. Thank y'all for coming out. I couldn't believe we had 98 signups. Only about 50% showed up, but there was another meetup going on at the same time. But yeah, thank y'all for being like listeners. We're going to keep continuing to bring on strong guests that are in the industry. And we're going to start making it out to some of these events because we did miss with STR Wealth Con. So we're going to start making out to some events, LLT style.
Hey, my wife's making some of these hats. If you have a company that you want to make, Mike is always preaching the your brand, how strong your brand is. So my wife can help you make some hats and t-shirts. She's on that cricket machine hard, bro.
Let's go.
All right, man. See ya.
We are out.
Peace.
Later.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.